mosaics. The Divine Liturgy, which is the service, it would also be equivalent to the Roman Catholic, we call it the Mass. It's the liturgy of the Eucharist in which communion is served, is our Sunday service. It includes both, of course, the use of the Word of God, the Scriptures, and then also the offering of the liturgy itself, the offering of the Eucharist. The entire service is sung. The chant that is used is a chant that is derived actually from the area in Europe where we came from, which is a part of Eastern Europe. It's called the Carpathian chant, or Carpatho-Rusin. There are a group of cantors and a choir that lead the congregation in the singing. The priest will intone and the people respond. So it's kind of a continual dialogue of, that leads us into worship and then also gives expression to the faith. There's a festival that's done every year in July. It's an outdoor festival, has live music, and it's a way for people to gather. And so it's sort of a way for us to offer hospitality, to gather the community together. We feel we have some very good food, and people do come for that. It's all homemade food. We also offer tours of the church building. It's a way of sharing our heritage, the beauty of the church itself, as well as giving some insight into our experience of faith. I recognize that there's a very wholesome environment here. It's a wonderful place for families. It's very supportive of faith, and it values the close-knit community.
My name's Dave Scalario. I'm with the Portage Area Recreation Commission, and we oversee the operation of the Crichton McCormick Park. The park's just a wonderful place. It's got a rich history. In 1921 was the first land that was donated to make the park by Henry McCormick. In 1954, Mrs. Rose Crichton donated 32 acres that encircles the McCormick Deed. The McCormick Deed sits in the middle, it goes out around. When you first turn into the park and you see this cannon looking at you, the veterans in town placed it down there, and it's dedicated to the veterans of mainly World War II, but it's for all the veterans who served from this area. The Kids Place Playground is a wooden playground, and two sisters was at another function in another town, and they had this nice, beautiful wooden playground, and they said it'd be nice if Portage had one. Well, these two sisters took it on, they raised all the money, they organized the manpower, and we got a nice, beautiful wooden playground there with swings and little sand boxes and sliding boards. The ship was added here a few years ago. The kids really love it. They think it's a fantastic addition to our other playground equipment. We have currently 10 shelters. We call them shelters, other places pavilions, and they're various sizes. We rent them out every year for reunions and picnics, and they're there for free use of the people any other time when they're not rented. The gazebo, it was dedicated and built during our centennial, and we've used it ever since. It's part of our Summerfest. There's bands, there's weddings that go on. People love to have their pictures taken down there at the gazebo. The ball fields, we've got 4 of them right now. There's Pee Wee League, Little League, softball fields, and it's run by the Youth Association. Several years ago, the Park Commission was asked if the TAP, Traditional Angler Association, could put in a trout hatchery down there. They built it the Long Cane Run, and they raised thousands of trout, which they stock all the local streams around here. Salmon Mine Memorial was originally in Jamestown, and it was at their miners' hall, but when the mine closed down, they decided to move the monument to the park back in 1960. And that's for the 63 miners, for their memorial for their salmon mine explosion. The swimming pool had various history, from a pond to an earthen dam to a brick-lined pool that had to be closed down. And for 4 years, we had no pool, and we just got together and we had to have one. We decided to have a little breakfast, and John Murtha got up and he spoke and everything, and we told him what our problems were, and he said, Portage will have a pool. He says, I will see to it. And next year we had $500,000 in funding. Just the spirit we have in this town to have something and make it good, and we all love it. Portage is a great town to live in. I lived here all my life. I went to school in some big cities, and I couldn't wait to just see that sign, Portage, I'm coming home.
My name is Paul Parinchak, and I'm here to talk about Parinchak's Market. It is the oldest family business in Portage. My grandfather and grandmother came from Czechoslovakia and opened it in the early 1900s. My mother and father bought the business in 1951, and she was in a Rabbits, and my dad was Parinchak. So now it is called Parinchak's Market. At one time, it was only groceries in the store, and when they bought it, they moved the meat market in there also. My father taught me everything about the butcher trade because he was a butcher at other places before he got married and came to my grandparents' store. In 1971, I took it over after my parents died. I do sell a lot of kielbasa, especially at Easter, Christmas, and all year around. I also even grind poppy seed and have meats like head cheese, kishka, and other things. I even cut pig's feet to make kuchenina. That's an old Slovak dish. I know all my customers, just like my grandparents and parents did. My success in the business is because I work a lot of hours and my customers seem pretty loyal because I try to do the best for them. It seems the mom and pop stores are disappearing. At one time, there was 30 small stores in our town of Portage, and I am the last one left, but I am doing well with it. I am very proud of the store and being in it so many years. I was born and raised in Portage, went to school here in Portage, and ran my business for all these years in Portage, and I think it's a very nice community.
Hi, my name is Sandy Chabaney, and I'm from Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and I'm here in Portage talking to you about the church that I belong to, St. Michael the Archangel Orthodox Church. The church was built in 1915, so this is the actual 95th anniversary of our church. St. Michael's Church is probably known as the Onion Dome Church. We have cupolas, which is an onion-shaped dome with the Orthodox cross on top. Orthodox cross is unique because it's a triple bar cross. The congregation is like a family to me. We have socials try to have them at the end of every month and get together, and just downstairs in the basement to have like breakfast maybe or a brunch. Throughout the years, our congregation has dwindled, but we try to work with what we can, and we welcome anyone into our church, and anyone can just come and see what our church is about. Some of the unique things that people might not know about in our church is the behind-the-scene things, the things that we really shouldn't talk about to other people or brag about to other people. We have fasting in our church, where like the Lenten fast, lasts 40 days. Well, if you can do it, if you're healthy enough to avoid meat, dairy products, cheese, things like that, you do that. It's really supposed to be done in private. So not too many people might know about that because we don't brag about that. At Christmas time, we prepare for the birth of Christ by having a Holy Supper. Pretty much it's 12 dishes. You can rest assured that there's wine on the table, there's bread, there's honey, pierogies without cheese or dairy products, potatoes, fish, barley soup, garlic, prunes maybe. And we go downstairs and have a Holy Supper with the congregation as well as doing it in your private home. The baptisms in our church are quite interesting. As you notice, there's a baptismal font in the middle of the church up front. Father's going to actually dunk him in the water 3 times, total immersion into the water. So you never know how the baby's going to react after that. And then also they get blessed with holy oil called chrism. The eyes are blessed, the ears are blessed, the mouth's blessed, and the hair is cut. It's called tonsuring. Father will take the hair and drop it in a candle flame and burn the hair. So it's quite unique. And he will walk into the altar with the baby because he is male, and then he'll come out front and he will raise the baby up and then lower them on the steps of the altar so that the mother can pick the baby up. It's quite unique. Our church welcomes any new members. We're always welcoming to new people in the community who want to just experience the Orthodox faith. So we're more than welcome to have you and take part of our service.
Hello, I'm Michael Steger, and I'd like to talk about Steger Store Portage. My grandfather, Chester Steger Sr., he founded a company in Jamestown. That's a little village just outside of Portage, founded as a scrapyard in 1917. 1927, he moved down to North Railroad Avenue. He moved there because they has a close to the Pennsylvania Railroad. After he moved there, then they installed a siding for railroad siding where he would buy scrap and the scraps he would process the scrap and load it on the railroad cars to be shipped to the steel mills. After World War II, he started buying Army surplus from U.S. government surplus, and mostly for the scrap value of the surplus merchandise. But a lot of that stuff, when it come in, it was in good shape or was practically new or unused. So then he started selling it. That's how Steger Store started. A lot of the surplus items started to dry up, and then he took on selling hardware and clothing and groceries and tools and that such. My grandfather started it. After it got going, he had 3 sons, Phil, Chester Jr., and Gary Steger. They was instrumental in developing both the scrapyard and the store. They did everything from pack bags to be the head boss. We all had a hand in the business. The sales started increasing to the point where we had to get a much larger building. The original building on North Railroad Avenue was probably less than 10,000 square feet. And it was on a dead-end street. People had to come there. They practically had to back out. So in 1984, U.S. Marshal Service had an auction sale of the Rosia Shoe Factory. My grandfather and my dad bought the shoe factory at the auction, and took us about a year. We got that all fixed up, and we moved our store down to the old shoe factory on Delancey Drive. Our new location has over 70,000 square feet. It's a good town to have business in. Working with the family is good, but all our customers, they might not be family by blood, but we believe they're a family. Nothing beats it when the customer is happy and he comes in and he thanks you and makes you feel good. It's like winning $1 million in my book. It's very rewarding to know that people care about you. You're not going to get that kind of care living in a big city or even a town twice as big as this town of Portage. We're very proud of Portage. Portage is one of the nicest towns. I don't think I can live anywhere else. I wouldn't want to work anywhere else. To tell you the truth, when you drive into town and it says Portage is a gem in the main line, they're not lying. It is the gem in the main line.
My name's Rick Bem. I'm here today to talk a little bit about the Sama mine explosion, which happened in 1940, and the film that the Portage Area Historical Society put together to capture information about that. We wanted to do that at a time whenever there were still some people around who were experienced it firsthand, so we could maybe record that. Salmon, it's a little hamlet right outside of Portage, had a deep mine, a slope mine, I believe it was. In July, I think it was on July 15th of 1940, there was an explosion at the mine. My father, Edward Bem, and his brother, August, were in the mine at the time of the explosion. Fortunately, my father made it out. However, sadly, his brother, my Uncle August, did not, as well as a number of other gentlemen from the area. We tried to recreate some scenes of the time, and we were able to involve a number of people in the community in the filming.
Where are you working today? 16 right, with Monteith. Yeah, me too. I'm in 17, and I better get going. I'm driving the ponies in today.
Recounts from people at the time said, a lot of people ran up the tracks to Salmon to wait. And, we recreated that during the movie, and the number of people that showed up to participate in those kind of recreations was just amazing. Interestingly, we had a gentleman who was actually on the rescue team, and we were able to interview him, and Ken Kepler was his name.
We had spotlights on. And maybe 50, 75 feet up the entry, we saw the guy sitting there like he was eating dinner. He had his dinner bucket between his legs, and he's sitting down. We thought he was eating lunch, so we signaled to go on up to get him. We got up there, and he was dead.
A number of the guys who lost their lives at the explosion were killed by the explosion. I'm not sure exactly how many, whatever, but a number of them actually died afterwards because they were trapped and died from carbon monoxide. They ran out of air before the rescuers were able to get to them and get them out. One of the scenes that's very familiar to the people in town is at Sacred Heart Church. Whenever the funeral of a number of the miners who went to that particular church happened, all the caskets in line in the church and whatnot. In 1994, the video did receive an award of merit from the Pennsylvania Federation of Museum and Historical Organizations. Several years later, after the mine disaster, the town erected a monument down at our park to commemorate the loss of the 63 men, and a granite monument was erected, and all the names of the miners who were lost were inscribed on the monument. As time goes forward and people go down to the park and see the monument down there and wondering, well, what was that all about? What we had tried to do was to create some video, some record of that, so someone in the future can come down to the Historical Society's museum, pick up a copy of the video, view it, understand what happened, and have information from people who actually were around back in 1940 and were personally affected by the disaster.
My name's Steve Gavlak. I live in Portage all my life. I admired old stuff more than I do today's products. They're all plastic. And I got a lot of little trinkets, oodles and oodles of small stuff, shelf after shelf. I was about 8 years old when my sister worked in a toy factory. She bought each one of us. There was 9 in the family, and the Zeppelin was about 18 inches long, and it had wheels. We could ride it, and it was about 6 inches high. So for us little kids, we pedaled with our feet, so it was neat. There was also a car that's about the same length, and an airplane. Yeah, I have large wheels. They were on a farmer's hay rake, which was drawn by a horse. And then I have other wheels that for the wagon part, they're only about 2 feet high, those wheels. And they were built for a wagon, and they loaded all the hay. At that time, it wasn't baled, it was thrown on with pitchforks. I have about 30-some bricks that have names on them. I started collecting them when I started finding out some of these bricks had names on, so every time I saw a brick pile, I searched it. If it had a name on it, I took it. And I have bricks from Wimber and Saxton. And there's one in Metropolitan, Pennsylvania brick, Johnstown brick, and it just goes on and on. I still have that trunk that Mom brought from when she came to this country in 1906. She brought all her personal things, mostly clothes. A light bulb is 1,000 watt. It's as big as your head, and it still burns. In my basement, it's like sunshine. It's real, real bright. The carnival wheel with a lot of numbers on, and you laid your money down, you'd spin the wheel, and you'd lose your money. As far as I could see, you can't win. There was sacristy bell. It's awful loud, You almost have to block your ears. They didn't want it, and I asked the priest for it, and he says, "Here, take it, enjoy it." I like Portage. It's a small town, and I'm a nature boy. I love the woods. To this day, I just love to go in the woods, but I just can't do it anymore. I've roamed all the woods around here. I just love them.
My name's Alan Dubrick, and I'm the director of the Portage Area Community Band. The Portage Area Community Band is made up of members from all around the community and the surrounding area, and we basically have people anywhere from 16 to 70 in the band. And we play all kinds of music from from the old style marches to contemporary pieces. The community band started about 7 years ago, I guess. And the way that came about was I decided that a community band would be a nice thing to have in Portage. And then I just basically put an article in the paper. And I got a ton of people that came up and said, boy, this is a really nice idea. And we all met, and we've been practicing ever since. Actually, when we started in 2003, we practiced for almost a year, which is, you know, kind of tough, just practicing and not doing anything. And then when we got to the level that we needed to be, I believe our first concert was a summer concert in 2004, and we did an evening one down at the gazebo at the park. And it turned out very, very well. The community's just excellent here. I bet we had, maybe 150 people at that first concert, and everything's gone very, very well ever since. The typical year for the community band starts out with the Christmas season. We basically have the same tunes every year. Maybe we add one or two more. And it starts out with the band playing at the Portage Light Tour. We'd have buses outside, and they would take the community people to see all the lights around the area, and we would just play as people were walking in and out. One of the other things that we started playing at is the Winterfest celebration that Portage has every year. In the summer, we typically do 3 concerts, one in June, one in July, and one in August. And we prepare a different set of selections for each concert, and that's our basic year in the community band. The style of music the community band plays varies a great deal, but it's always in the concert band style because of our instrumentation. So we play everything from marches to the Disney favorites to the works of the contemporary concert band composers. The members of the band fluctuates depending on the year. You know, everybody's working and everybody has a very busy schedule. So we end up with anywhere from 15 to 30 people, depending on what concert we're playing. And for anyone out here who's watching this, I would very, very much encourage them to, if you play an instrument, to come and play with us. The biggest thing I hear every time is I haven't played for 30 years or I haven't played for 40 years. Well, that's fine. We'll get you right back up to where you were in high school. We're not there to be the New York Philharmonic, but we are there to make music together and to have a good time and to have a good experience for everyone. So I highly encourage you to come down and play with us. We have the best people around.
I'm Ron Cadwalder. I'm the superintendent of Portage Water Authority, and I'm here to tell you about the Portage Water Authority. We actually have 2 water plants. One of the water plants is at Martindale. It's a